Hey everyone! I'm Albert Boris. Mario Party 9. Without a doubt, this is one of my favorite Mario Party games of all time.
What did you just say?
I think you heard me clear enough the first time. But yeah, this is one of those games that I can go back to any day of the week and just have the time of my life on again. It was the game that saved the Mario Party franchise from its eternal slumber after its previous developers, Hudson Soft, were sold into Konami. And moreover, this was the game that got me into the Mario franchise to begin with, after finding out about it through YouTube minigame compilations. Sadly, it's also perhaps the most controversial game in the series. And that always made me kind of sad. And sure, part of that may just be nostalgia speaking, but I think this is a genuinely great game, even disregarding my bias. I had 3 Mario Party games that I primarily grew up playing, this one, 8, as well as Island Tour, but even though I actually feel even more nostalgic for those 2 games, I definitely don't think they've aged nearly as well. And since then, I've also played stonks of every other Mario Party, besides Advance. And still, Mario Party 9 is the one that impresses me the most. So, before anyone throws me the card that says, actually, you probably never even played the originals, well, I did. And I enjoyed them too. But today, I wanted to dedicate a review on this underrated gem, and talk about why, in my opinion, this is one of the best Mario Party games of all time, as well as one of my personal favorites. Because, truthfully, this game deserves a much better reputation than it has.
No, it doesn't. This game is rightfully one of the most hated Mario Party games of all time. Why would you change the core gameplay of a series that already worked, and then replace it with something far more unbalanced?
Tell you what, if this game didn't change the core gameplay, Mario Party 9 would have instead been hated for not standing out enough. Just ask early Mario Party 8 and 7 reviews, and they were still some of the more unique installments. And regardless, there are some things that the CAW actually does better. So, let's do this. In this video, I'll be going over everything that makes up Mario Party 9, its presentation, board gameplay, as well as everything related to its minigames. And also, before we actually start, remember that this is my opinion, first and foremost. Maybe you'll completely agree with me, or maybe you won't at all, but regardless, I hope you'll all enjoy watching this video of a more unpopular take on the game. So, with all of that being said, I say, let's get started. First, let's talk about something that always struck with me from the moment I first touched Mario Party 9, the game's personality. Making a good first impression is important for my initial approach to a game, and Mario Party 9's presentation is stellar. It always struck with me just how much more deep, relaxing and sentimental the atmosphere feels in this game compared to other Mario Parties. Typically, the atmosphere in Mario Party games is very campy and chaotic, and while that definitely fits this series, considering it's, well, Mario Party, it always felt kind of generic and superficial as well, as if its only purpose was to get me pumped up for the game, but nothing more. And when every song has a similarly chaotic and carnival feel to it, it got a bit repetitive at times. I love Mario Party, but the soundtrack has never really been its strongest suit. Mario Party 5 was a bit of an exception, opting for a more dreamlike and magical personality, and likewise, Mario Party 9 is a bit more similar to that. The soundtrack of this game is usually more soft and relaxing compared to its predecessors, which not only allows it to be more peaceful and emotional, but it also makes for much better contrast when the game actually does get dramatic, as opposed to if it had been that way all the time. It makes for a more varied atmosphere, and combined with the fact that this is the first time a Mario Party soundtrack sounds orchestrated, the whole experience feels a lot more immersive, and as a result, many of my favorite songs from the Mario Party series hail from this game. From the invigorating title theme to the mysterious prologue theme, the absolutely beautiful and fulfilling Bowser Station song, or the cinematic Bowser Jr. and Bowser fights, Mario Party 9's soundtrack just offers something not seen in the other games, with the possible exceptions of 5 and shockingly Island Tour. But the soundtrack isn't the only thing that delivers here. Mario Party games typically also have an overarching theme seen throughout the game. Mario Party 3 set inside a toy box, Mario Party 4 had a birthday party, and Mario Party 7 was a cruise around the world, etc, etc. Even Island Tour had bubbles. While Mario Party 9 also has a theme, this time based around the night sky, stars, and space. So I guess in a weird way, you could call this the Mario Galaxy of the Mario Party games, especially because the story is actually kind of dramatic. Usually, the story in Mario Party is just that Mario and his friends are fighting to become the superstar, while Bowser is pissed over not being invited. Not this time though. In Mario Party 9, Mario and his friends are just casually watching star constellations in the night sky, when suddenly it turns out that Bowser is sucking up all of the mini-stars in the sky to decorate his castle, and it's our job to get them back. And keep in mind that if these are really mini stars, as in fragments of bigger burning stars, Bowser is effectively slowly killing the universe, turning it dark forever. So yeah, much less of what you'd expect. And sure, maybe I'm just looking a little too deeply into this because I grew up with it, but I don't think so. I mean sure, Mario Party 6 has a kind of dramatic story too, as the sun and the moon are literally fighting, but that game doesn't really take itself seriously, as the whole plot is just explained as happening in a book. Whereas in comparison, in this game, you have a shot of the whole sky getting sucked up by a white hole. And the cinematography, music accompaniment, feels a lot more serious and dramatic. Bottom line is, I appreciate that the story actually has some weight to it this time, and that it tries something new. Plus it just makes the solo mode that much more adventurous and fulfilling when you do beat it. Since the best part is that these star constellations actually matter beyond the story mode as well, because after you get all of the mini-stars, you can actually trade them in at the museum to properly restore them, and then even check all of them out in the night sky. And sure, the constellations are just a bunch of Mark characters that you can read about, but the fact that they did all of this for just that is so cool, and browsing through the night sky is so soothing, especially with that music. It's possibly the best, most emotional and life-reflecting song I've ever heard in a Mario Party game. Whenever I hear this tune, I always unconditionally look back on my life, think about where I am now and how everything I've done has led me to this place. So yeah, I hope you understand now why I say this game has a deep atmosphere to it. But before I start crying, how about I make everyone angry? I really like the car. Now, let's talk about the board gameplay. Mario Party 9, as we all know, changed up the core gameplay of the franchise pretty dramatically. Instead of walking around by yourself on the boards trying to collect stars, this time everyone is forced together as if on a family road trip, on maps that have a clear start and clear finish. So let's get the problems out of the way first, because it's definitely not perfect. Yes, it's not as strategic as the previous games. When everyone moves at the same time on a linear map, there's much less player agency, because even though there's still a ton of split paths, it's only the person in control who gets to pick, except for in Magma Mine, so there's not a whole lot of choice for the individual player, especially because there aren't even any item shops, and items themselves are random. But it's not as bad as it sounds. There's still an item system in the form of different dice blocks. There's 1 to 3 dice, 4, 5, 6 dice, 0 to 1 dice, 1 to 10 dice, as well as slow dice, which allow you to pick your roll. Which one you get though, largely boils down to luck, as you can only get one at random when landing on a blue space, or if you're lucky and get to a Toad House. But for what it's worth, they still add quite a bit of agency to the player, because you can't just buy dice blocks in the shops, it makes them a lot more valuable when you do get them, as you can't just waste them away, and there's still plenty of fun ways to screw over the players that come after you. For example, you can use a low tier dice block to avoid getting blown up by the Bob-omb, a high end one to narrowly escape a boo, or you could also be a complete jerk and try to raise the Magma Mine lava, so that the next player undoubtedly gets fried. Could it be better? Definitely. But for what we have, it's still something. Admittedly, there should be more options for being able to get items though. Mario Party 10 slightly fixed this issue by not only having more types of dice, but forcing everyone into a Toad House whenever they passed one, ensuring that everyone would always get a dice. But for Mario Party 9 having the first take on this, it's not half bad. And last place always gets at least one slow dice when the homestretch starts, allowing them to turn the tide. I wish there were also minigames where you could win dice blocks, but whatever. Another thing that this mode regularly gets hate for is its handling of minigames, because unlike previous games where they occurred after everyone had rolled once, this time it's only when someone lands on a versus space. And I can definitely understand the critique behind that, since it would have been so easy to implement otherwise. But dude, this isn't that bad. No, it's not possible to go an entire match without playing a single minigame. Anyone who's actually played this game knows that's not true. Because actually, versus spaces aren't the only way to initiate the minigame. If a match has gone on for too long without the minigame having been started, you can actually initiate minigames from landing on blue spaces as well, because there's something more in the box. And whenever there's a split junction where one path has more minigame spaces, the CPU will always pick that one. So the game is kind of purposefully rigged to make sure we get minigames. I mean, even Bowser sometimes initiates one. I decided to also go the extra length to document how many minigames you tend to get over the course of 11 board matches, and as it turns out, it's usually between 8 to 11 minigames. And considering each game usually lasts between 30 to 40 minutes, it's akin to a 10-turn match in previous games, so nothing out of the ordinary at all. DK's Jungle Runes was a little different, only yielding me 6 minigames for one match, but that board is also only like 25 minutes long, so that's expected. So overall, while this is more inconsistent than just having minigames play after each turn, it's hardly the doomsday scenario people talk about. But that's enough negativity. Now, how about we talk about the good things that the car also brought? Because Mario Party 9's maps have a clear start and finish, the boards in this game feel much more like adventures than previous ones, starting off nice and simple, and then getting more chaotic the closer you reach the end. In Boo's Horror Castle, more boos start chasing you, in Bob-omb Factory, bombs fall onto your cart, and Magma Mine suddenly has the lava rising. And don't forget the increase in Bowser spaces. In a weird twisted way, Mario Party 9 is basically what a regular 2D Mario game would be like if it was a board game, and I love it. Again, it's much unlike the previous games, but that's because it's supposed to be something new, and I personally love how this feels more like a journey now. There's also captain events halfway through, where everyone has a chance to win mini-stars, but whoever is captain at the moment is able to slightly manipulate the outcome. It's nothing too special, but it's a nice thing to break up the pace, and not make the board play completely repetitive. But now yes, some of these events that I talked about are a bit unfair. The Bob-omb in Bob-omb Factory is especially ruthless, because no matter what, someone is gonna be the victim of its explosion and lose half their mini-stars. Which, I guess brings us to another regularly pointed out problem of this game. Mario Party 9 only has one currency that determines their placement, mini-stars, and with how many possible ways there are to lose half of them, that can be a bit of a game changer. But once again, I feel that this is blown way out of proportion. Even more so than items and minigames. Because besides the Bob-omb, every other instance has at least some workaround to it. On Blooper Beach, the sushi only appears at the start, so you never lose that much. After that, it just kind of disappears. In Boo's Horror Castle, the boos can't go through doorways, so you can always take detours to avoid them, or not, if you want the next player to suffer. And for Magma Mine, everyone is at equal risk at all times. And even though you can lose half your stars on a Bowser space as well, it's only one of many possible events. It's just as likely that you'll get a battle or reverse minigame. And here's the thing, if you're good at the game and win every single minigame, which I guarantee there's always at least several of them, you will probably still win the game. It's no different from classic Mario Party games, which just had other ways of screwing you up like chance time. Like, if you're already in first place and in the lead by quite a margin, you'll probably still have a lot of stars left, and getting more of them is still possible. Which gets us to another point. You want to know what people can seem to agree is great though? Boss battles. Halfway through each board, as well as at the very end, you'll have to play a boss minigame, where everyone has to defeat a big bad foe, and whoever deals the most damage when it's defeated gets a more hefty reward than usual. And this is so good. I love everything about boss battles. And it's another one of those things that makes Mario Party 9 feel like a regular Mario adventure, since it raises the stakes, but they really do feel impactful, since a lot of them feel incredibly dramatic as far as atmosphere goes, but because most of them are also based around skill, it's where you're able to really come out on top and dominate the game. Boss battles were technically introduced in Mario Party DS as part of its story mode, but they were only single player, and ranged anywhere from needlessly complex to just way too easy. So I think it's safe to say that Mario Party 9 as well as 10 definitely improved on them and made them more consistent. That Bowser fight is especially epic, as you're literally circling a black hole while the world is coming to an end. Wait, is this still Mario Party? But yeah, even though the core gameplay is more luck-based than in the other games, there's still plenty of player agency in screwing up players to be had, even if it's more limited, and for what it's worth, Mario Party 9's gameplay makes for a much more organic story progression, with its clearly defined checkpoints and boss battles, also making this arguably the best solo mode in series. And here's another fun thing about the story mode, you don't actually have to win in order to progress to the next board. As long as neither Shy Guy or Kamek come out on top, who are actually spies working for Bowser, you'll always go to the next map no matter what. Which actually kind of makes sense in the context of the story as well, since everyone is helping to get the mini-stars back. And sure, on one hand, this might make the solo mode seem too easy, but actually, there's a twist to it. See, Mario Party 9 has these so-called star rankings, where after every playthrough of solo mode, depending on how many mini-stars you collected, you'll be given a particular rank, and trying to get all of them, wow, that's a challenge. But not for the reason you'd think. Getting the higher ranks is no problem, just win all the minigames. But getting the lower ranks, now that's brutal. Because you not only have to get as few mini-stars as possible, but you also need to try and screw over Kamek and Shy Guy, so that they don't win. And they're always on a higher difficulty level than the other CPUs. Trying to do all of this is a lot harder than it sounds. It took me so many tries just to get the average star ranking, and I was this close to getting the lowest one. I didn't want to risk Kamek winning on the last board that playthrough. But yeah, even if there's obviously a lot of luck involved in this, it's such a fun challenge to try and 100%, and to this day, it's the only thing that I haven't finished in this game.
You're wasting your time, Albert Boring.
I don't want your advice, Bertel.
Look, Maybe the car makes more sense for story progression, but this isn't what Mario Party is supposed to be. It's not what I play the series for.
And that's fine. I'm not stating why the car is better, I'm just stating why it's still fun in its own right. The classic formula is still great, but different doesn't automatically mean it's awful. But perhaps there's still something that we can agree is still great in this game.
What is it?
The minigames!
Fair play, I guess.
Even if you despise the car gimmick, as much as I think it's underrated, I think almost everyone can rejoice over the minigames in Mario Party 9. In fact, I'm actually gonna go as far as to say that everything related to the minigames is the best that it's ever been in this game. Now, obviously, minigames are highly subjective, and whichever minigames you like highly depends on person to person. The great thing about minigames though is that there is always something for everyone, and in my opinion, Mario Party 9 has by far the most consistent selection of engaging, unique, and just plain fun games. Of course, I already mentioned the bosses, so no need to do it again, but man, look at this! You've got Peak Precision, a simple but high thrill race to the top, Goomba Bowling, an incredibly high precision and satisfying bowling game, Player Conveyor, where you have to find the conveyors that lead to the center, 10 to Win, a luck minigame that's actually kind of skill based if you can keep track of the cards, literal hide and seek, and the list just goes on and on. Honestly, this is the only game in the entire series where I can confidently say that I think I like all of the minigames. Or well, besides peer pressure. But yeah, other than that, no complaints. All of them control super well, have interesting concepts, and are just a whole lot of fun to play. Even the 1v3 minigames aren't half bad, and those are usually way too skewed towards one side. Sadly, there are no 2v2 minigames, which is kind of disappointing, but in its place are Bowser Jr. minigames, where two players have to team up in order to defeat Bowser Jr. It's kind of the closest thing we have to it, and when it comes to the board play, winning earns you both 5 stars, while losing makes you lose that much. And throwing them just to sink your worst enemy is so evil, and I love it. In all honesty, I might actually prefer these to regular 2v2 minigames, just because not only do these ones have a lot more stakes, but the fact that you can actually lose mini-stars just adds a whole different perspective to them. And also, thank god the motion controls aren't forced into everything in this game. Mario Party 8 was so bad in how it forced them down your throat for everything. You couldn't navigate the menus without them, and just about all the minigames made use of them, whether or not it even made sense. And it didn't even work half the time anyways. Mario Party 9 is far more balanced when it comes to this, allowing it to navigate menus without motion controls, and also only using them for minigames that really need it, like the blooper battle. And it also helps that they actually work now. Just compare Flip the Chimp from Mario Party 8 to Chain Event 9 and you instantly see what I mean. But there's actually even more to talk about minigames for this game. Good minigames are one thing, but good minigame modes? Even better! Once again, Mario Party 9 is leagues above most other installments when it comes to different modes for minigames, giving us some of the most unique and replayable side content the series has to date. On one hand, there's Step It Up, your typical win X amount of minigames to win. I guess it's pretty basic, but I think this is definitely the best version of it in the series, since it's a lot more energetic, and I love all the little NPCs cheering you on as you advance the staircase. Time Attack is your typical decathlon where you need to beat 10 minigames in the shortest time possible, which is also fun. Nothing wrong with the decathlon. And there's even a boss rush. But Garden Battle, Choice Challenge, and High Rollers is where it's especially at. Garden Battle has you filling out a garden patch with sets of crops, and whoever fills it all in first is the winner. It's pretty cool, and I like how you have to be strategic with which pieces will fit in best, and leave as little space as possible. Choice Challenge is a challenge about 5 random minigames, except you can only vote to play on 3 of them, and depending on what everyone else voted, you'll compete against the players who picked the same minigames as you. It's such a cool concept, and the only thing I can complain about is that I wish it didn't end so soon, since it's really only 5 minutes max. And High Rollers, my goat. This one's just something else. You have to get 500 points by rolling this cube onto these numbers, which will decrease in score every time you roll over them, and the amount of times that you can roll it depends on how well you score in minigames. Already it's very engaging, but there's so many other quirks to make it stand out as well, as there's a power block in the middle that decreases all spaces at once, and players who are far behind are given a rush item that allows them to move across a lane in one go, which by the way can also knock other players off the map, preventing them from doing a move this turn. Hello? Base Department? I didn't know a side mode could have so much depth and strategy. I'll even go ahead and say that this is better than the regular party mode, which I guess isn't a high bar to cross. But even as a car apologist, this is way more fun than it deserves to be. And I'd play Mario Party 9 over several other games in the series just because of this. Again, the only problem I have is that I wish it was longer. Oh yeah, there's also a perspective mode, which allows you to play 10 minigames in third person mode, which I guess is cool, although there's not much reason to go back to it after beating it. But yeah, I think that's everything that had to be said. Atmosphere, music, car... Yeah, that must be everything. How should I conclude this review? I know. Mario Party 9 is a game that was unlike anything else seen in its series, but it is no worse because of that. For its slightly more luck-based gameplay, it tremendously makes up for its more organic story progression, higher stakes, and the most consistent minigame selection, all bathing under the most caring atmosphere and soundtrack ever. Overall, 9.5 out of 10. Amazing. Yeah, it's not quite perfect, but I'd be doing myself a disservice to give it anything lower. Man, it was so fun to go back to one of my personal favorite Mario parties. Ever since I started this channel, this was always one of the videos that I wanted to do the most, with how underappreciated I always felt it was. So I guess it was about time that I finally got around to doing it. And I hope you all enjoyed this slightly different perspective on Mario Party 9.
Oh, Mario Party 9. More like Mario Party 9!
Look, Birchall, I know I trapped you inside of my Mario Party 9 disc all those years ago.
You did what?
But don't you remember all the fun times we had playing it?
Dude, I could have ceased to exist!
No, you couldn't. And I had to. You were gonna ruin both of our futures.
You only did it for the money!
Have I missed something? Is this important lore?
Shut up, Deltron! The grown-ups are talking. But yeah, that was it for my video on why Mario Party 9 is an underrated gem, if I ever saw one. But, do you agree with me or not? Let me know down below what you think of Mario Party 9, and if this was perhaps your childhood game in the series too. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video and want to see more Mario Party videos from me. In the meantime, join my Discord server, Greenpipe City, and follow me on Twitter and Patreon for more updates, and I'll see you all soon. Until next time.